Hey guys, really quick, if you want to pick up some Sencut knives, use the link down in the description. Not only does it help our channel, but it gets you right there. You can just click on it, it'll take you right to their Amazon links to all their knives. Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife, Kara, is at work. And in this video, we are doing the review on the SENCUT Actium. SENCUT has a few other knives like the Scepter, the Badlands, and the Sidious. I had the Sidious, but I did give it away to a friend that needed a good knife, and these are great knives. Now, I've been on the fence between which one of these two, and only out of these two, I like more. Which one do I like more? Now, on paper, this one would be the one, because of the way it looks, its profile, it's the way the ergos are. Just on paper, this would be the one. But as I test them more and more, and I carry them back to back, I'm realizing that I actually like this one a little bit more. Now, on paper, this would not be the one I like more, but it just happens that the chips fall that way. Now, there's a few reasons why, and I have not done the review on this one yet. It is coming up extremely soon, very, very soon. But let's get into the review on this one. Now, this is an amazing knife. Fantastic knife. Great buy. I think they're around $40, so under $40. What an amazing knife. And it comes in a couple different colors. They got purple, black, red, and I'm not sure if there's any other colors. Let's get into the action really quick, because the action is so good on this thing. So the flipper tab it just sits so good the way your finger, and the relationship between your finger and the flipper tab is great. It's got jimping all the way around it, as you can see. So you can easily do the push button, but it kind of feels a little bit better with the light switch. Now, the detent is so well tuned, it's very addicting to flip, because it's so easy and it punches out. It's really nice. Now, when you unlock it, the lock bar, plenty of access. You can see, even from this side, you can see it. Plenty of access. The detent, nice and early. So it's always past the detent when you unlock it. If you let the flipper tab hit your thumb, it's always past the detent. And it's very smooth. Now, another thing is it has some really nice acoustics. I mean, it's very addicting to flip this knife. And like I said, the acoustics are just amazing. The drop is very, very smooth. It's running on ceramic bearings, ceramic cage bearings with a ceramic detent ball. Now, the flipper, or the thumb stud, well done thumb studs. Not only the detent and action, the combination between the flipper tab and the thumb stud, they both are really, really good. But the gripping, or the texture on the thumb stud is really nice, and the position, it being a little bit away from the scale where it's at, it works so good. Like when you go to put your finger in a spot that you would love the thumb stud to be, that's where it's at. And the angle right here, where you can rest your thumb before you put pressure, is perfect. The relationship between you and the thumb stud on this case and the flipper tab is amazing. Like, as soon as I close it, my thumb's already in position. It is so, so good. I don't know what the other reviewers have been saying about this knife, but great knife. Now, the reverse flick, same thing. Because of the position of the thumb stud, it's not really tight to the scales. Now, if we go back to the Badlands, you'll see it's a little bit tighter to the scales. So that makes the relationship between you, or your thumb and the flipper, or the thumb, dang it, your thumb and the thumb stud, not as good as this one right here. This is still great. Don't get me wrong, this is still great. Thumb stud action is great on this. This one's better though. It's just positioned better, and it works just a little bit better. Slow roll is nice, because the thumb studs are just, they're nice and big, I should say, so they pop out enough to where you can just put your thumb, position it, and it opens. Centering is perfect. G10 scales with steel liners. It is a liner lock, as you can see. This is D2 though. D2 steel, which is a great steel, great edge retention, great toughness as long as it's heat treated correctly. Jimping, really good. It has a nice big finger choil, so you really lock in. So let's get into cutting. Let's talk about some cutting performance. So the cutting performance is fantastic. You can put your finger here in the choil and like lock yourself right here. And we'll talk about the ergos here in just a second. But the geometry is so beautiful. The blade stack is a good thickness, not too thick, not too thin, a perfect thickness, but it has a really deep hollow grind that gets super thin behind the edge. So I measured mine directly behind the edge at 13 thousandths, between like 13 and 15 thousandths, and all through this belly here, it's between like 13 and 15 thousandths. I mean, that is amazing. That is great. Nice and thin, very tall. You actually can see it right here, how thin it is. It is so good. So passing through materials, it just passes through so nicely. The ergos are great, the leverage is great, and it just blazes through. You can do repeat cuts, meaning after you take one cut through cardboard, you can go right back to cutting extremely fast. And since it passes through so easily, you feel like you have an overwhelming amount of control from the knife and cutting. It just works great. Slices beautifully. Now the utility cuts, this does have a bit more belly than I usually like, but if you look, they have a kind of a harpoon going on here. It is a drop point, but you see how they have like a harpoon going down. So one, that gives you the strength behind the tip, but it also has the hollow, which thins it out to a nice precision tip. So, and since the harpoon in the drop point kind of angles it down, you really have good utility cuts, and you have a lot of leverage forcing you towards the object that you're doing the utility cut on. So the utility cuts are amazing with this thing, along with the slicing. Now you have multi positions of how you can hold your hand for utility cuts or slicing. The ergos just work out great. Even pull cuts, when you grip it like this, it angles towards you a little bit, so you can really get like cuts on ropes or straps or anything like that. You're going to want to be careful not to get them stuck in the choil, but as long as you keep it in this area, in this area, it's going to cut. You're not going to want to go over the belly, because with ropes, if you get over the belly, they'll just slide up and out. Now, let's talk about these ergos really quick, and then we'll go to sharpening. So the ergos, you see how it has a straight spot right here on the spine? That works really good for choking up. It just sits nice and comfortably right in the hand for lots of leverage through your push cuts. You can really dig down into those push cuts, and then it angles right here, which when you're not choked up, it really positions really nice where this spot right here pushes up into your palm, and then your thumb kind of lays across the flat side. Jimping is very, very well done. Really bites you and locks you in, and that works really good for slicing, but it just feels really comfortable in the hand. Then if you do want to choke up again and take full advantage of the whole handle, it really locks you in right here. I really like this grip right here. You feel like you have so much control over the knife. It's amazing. Then, you even have like the other grips where you take your 3 fingers and wrap them around the handle right here and do the pinch, or you can pinch back here. It just works great. In all grips, it works great. The only one I really didn't try was something like this, but there was no reason, I guess. But it works good, though, still. You could definitely, if you need to stick a can or some type of tank, you know, and drain it or something, definitely you could, or whatever else you're stabbing. So nice big T8 hardware. I love to see that all the way around. The clip has T6s, and the clip works great in and out of the pocket. Great clip. Just like all the Civivi models, it works great. There's nothing like spectacular looking about it, but it works great. In and out of the pocket, nice and smooth. Carrying it carries in the pocket really nice. It's not a small knife, and we'll get to some size comparisons here in a minute. It's a full-size knife, but it carries still pretty good. And I also want to say, back to this action for one really quick, I can easily fidget with this thing left-handed. I am not left-handed. That really shows you how easy this knife is to manipulate. Now, let's get into sharpening, because I want to talk about sharpening a belly like this. Now, when sharpening a belly, you want to make sure you start with the heel of the blade. So when you find your angle and your blade is laying on the stone, start with the heel of the blade, the part closest to the choil. And as you're dragging it across the stone, you want to make sure you lift your elbow till you get to the tip. As you lift and come across the stone, it'll go through the belly and all the way to the tip. So you kind of want to lock your wrist, and so you kind of want to lock your wrist so that when you go to repeat going across the stone, you can have the grip the same with the knife, so it lays back on the stone the same way you had it before. And then you start with the heel, drag it across the stone, and as you lift your elbow, it will sharpen. It'll go across the stone, sharpening the belly, and then finally to the tip. And you just keep repeating that over and over. And you know, when you get a really good feel for the motion, you can start dragging it back and forth, which will sharpen the knife a little faster by, you know, going forwards and backwards. But you want to make sure you have good muscle memory when you're doing that. So getting used to lifting your elbow as you go across the stone really helps you do the exact same motion over and over and over. Keep an eye on your grip pattern. Make sure, you know, you watch either the grip pattern go from the top of the bevel or from the bottom up. Either way, you want to make sure your bevel gets completely covered in the grit that you're sharpening on. Now, the D2 on this steel felt really good going across the stone. No complaints on the way it's sharpened. It deburred really good. I brought this one to a 600 grit. It's kind of a finer 600 grit because I'm using an older diamond plate, which in return does give me a little bit more of a finer edge. But man, this knife took a really, really nasty sharp edge. Let's take a look at, after stropping, I stropped the edge after the 600 grit. Now let's take a look at it cutting through paper, because you can really see how sharp this knife got through the paper. I mean, you can hear it, you can see it. It is super duper sharp. I mean, it just blazes through paper. And then let's take a look at the edge. You can see the edge looks really good, everything lined up. And you know, these knives, Civivi knives, SENCUT knives, they are so easy to sharpen. I highly recommend, if you're a beginner sharpener, start with these type of knives. These knives give you a good sharpening choil. The bevels are all, you know, perfect. The grinds are really, really even on them, and you're not going to find that from all companies. Even some of the more expensive companies, their grinds are just off. So these grinds on the SENCUT knives and the Civivi knives are really good. And now look at it when I touch the edge, how sharp it is. It'll basically just start cutting into my skin immediately as soon as it touches. I mean, it is very, very sharp after sharpening. So it sharpens up really good. The D2 seems really good in this. I can't speak on the edge retention really and how long lasting, but I didn't have a problem with it. But like I said, I didn't do any long-term scientific cutting, but it sharpened up really good. Felt really good on stone. Took a nasty edge. I mean, a ridiculously sharp edge. And yeah, so that says a lot to me. Personally, but you know, I will go to Outpost 76's channel to check on the performance in the steel. So don't take my word for it. Go over to Outpost 76 and get the information from him on the cut tests from the Sencuts. I believe he's testing them right now. My example felt really good. I didn't have any problems. Now let's talk about some bad things though. Because can a knife so great have some bad things? Well, not really, but I have some nitpicks. Okay, so one nitpick, and I'll be honest, I am nitpicking on this. And if I have to nitpick a $40 knife like this bad, then it must be amazing. So they didn't inset the clip into the G10. It is reversible, but I would have liked to have seen a cutout right there for it to sit down in. Not that big of a deal. They still used flat screws, and let me say, good hardware. The hardware is very, very good, very, very well done. I'd personally like to see a little bit bigger stop pin, and you know, this is just like I said, it's an okay stop pin, but you know, I like to see a little bit bigger size stop pins. I would show one right now, but I don't want to, you know, take away, you know, like give credit to another knife. But you know, I would like to see a little bit bigger stop pin on there. It does not that much bigger, and in all reality, this is fine. One other little thing, and I honestly think in this price point, this is just fine. So I don't really want to say this, but I'd like to see them, because 9CR, 14C28N, I'd rather see a Sandvik steel or more of a stainless. D2 is great. I have no problems with D2 as long as it's done right. But I know other people do. Other people live in areas that are more around salt water, or, you know, less areas where they need a stainless. So 14C28N would be great. I know D2 right now, they can get it for a great price, and that's what helps them get this great a quality at this price. So I'm not really complaining too much. It's just, you know, 9CR would be great. I do think, in my personal opinion, that D2s usually, sometimes, I mean not always, when it's done right, it does have better edge retention. Like I said, 12C27, 14C28N, 154CM, all those steels would be great. Now, that's it, man. That's it. There's not much bad here. Anything I say, I am overwhelmingly being nitpicky. You know, the scales are milled out for weight relief. Great weight. Now, like I said, the hardware's done really good. The standoffs look really good. It's a solid build. No play at all. Left, right, up and down. It's just rock solid. Let's look at the lockup. Lockup is beautiful. Lock face geometry is beautiful. I mean, this thing, it's hard to beat for this price. This is an amazing knife. Let's check out some size comparisons really quick and talk about the size. So it is a full-size knife at 8 inches with a 3.5-inch blade. Great size comparison to the Spyderco PM2. They're basically about the exact same size. Another great size comparison would be like the Kershaw Bare Knuckle. About right there at the exact same size. Here's the Benchmade Bug Out, just to show you something just a little bit smaller. Now, I don't have the Big Griptilian out here, but it's the same size as the Big Griptilian, and then here's the small Griptilian to it. But it is the same size as the big one, or the Hogue Ritter. You know what? I could show you this one, the Mannix. same size as well. So great size. It's basically, in my opinion, about my favorite size knife. I mean, I love that size knife. I think it's a perfect size for a large hand, and it works good. It carries good, and man, what a quality knife for this price. Sencut, you guys knocked it out of the park with this, and I can't praise you more for this knife. All your knives so far, I've been very impressed. Some of them I have more criticisms than this one, but yeah, great job. I never would have thought when I seen this. I never would have thought this would have been the one. I honestly would have looked at the Civivi Badlands, or one of their other models. This wasn't even the first one I bought, but great knife. Peace.